Hello and welcome to this first look exploring session, continuing our look at the Late Lancashire Witches by Thomas Heywood and Richard Brome. It is the beginning of Act 3. We're continuing our journey. We've found a lot to dig into. I think we're all a little unnerved. We're sort of entertained. We're sort of curious. We really don't quite know where it's all going. And we're still trying to unpack what sort of tone we're playing with here. And that gives us a lot to talk about. But we've also got a lot of text to get through because it is quite a chunky play as well. So without further ado, reading Parnell, Shakestone and Sprite today is...
Sue in Norwich, England.
Reading Robin today is... currently muted.
Hi, it's Greg. I'm not going to accept any naysayers about my part.
Reading Doughty and Meg is...
It's Simon Nader in Dublin.
Reading Arthur is...
All in Northamptonshire.
Reading Seeley and Mal today is...
Sarah Blake in The Hague.
Reading Lawrence and Winny today is...
Lynn in the Northwestern United States.
Reading Whetstone, Generous, Whetstone and Mistress, Generous, more importantly, is...
Lois in London.
Reading Gregory, Generous and Boy is...
One in Suffolk.
Reading Bantam and Maud is...
Mark in the Midwest United States.
And reading Joan, Fiddler and Goody Dickieson is...
Aliki in Athens.
And I'm your host, Robert Crighton. I will be reading stage directions and leaping in to read any additional things. Possibly Lynn, because Lynn appears to be frozen. Hopefully, maybe we'll be able to hear Lynn. If not, I will redistribute in the short term while technical gremlins are solved. But without further ado, we are going to start Act 3, Scene 1. I'll ask in the short turn while we read this, so hopefully Lynn will be back in the room in a moment, but I will ask Greg if you can read in Lawrence for just the first few minutes, assuming we don't get Lynn straight back in. So Act 1, Scene 1, Old Seeley and Joan, his wife, enter.
Come away, wife, come away, and let us be ready to break the cake over the bride's head at her entrance. We will have the honour of it, we that have played the steward and cook at home, though we lost church by it and saw not Parson Nit not do his office, but we shall see all the house rites performed, and oh, what a day of jollity and tranquillity is here towards.
You are so frolic and so crank now, upon the truce is taken amongst us, because our wrangling shall not wrong the wedding. But take heed, you were best how you behave yourself, lest a day come may pay for all.
I fear nothing, and I hope to die in this humour.
Oh, how hot I am! Rather than I would dress such another dinner this 12-month, I would wish wedding quite out of the year's almanac.
I'll fetch a cup of sack, wife.
And exit Seeley, we infer.
How brag he is of his liberty, but the holiday carries it.
Seeley, we can infer, returns with some wine.
Here, sweetheart. There are long, methinks, a-coming. The bells have rung at this half hour. Hark now, the wind brings the sound of them sweetly again.
At which point we can infer the sound of the bells playing the wrong direction.
They ring backwards, methinks.
Effects they do! Sure, the greatest fire in the parish is in our kitchen, and there's no harm done yet. No, 'tis some merry conceit of the stretch ropes, the ringers. Now they have done. And now the wedding comes. Hark, the fiddlers and all. Now have I lived to see a day. Come, take our stand and be ready for the bride cake, which we will so crack and crumble upon her crown. Oh, they come, they come.
Musicians enter with Lawrence Parnell, Winny, Mal Spencer, two country lasses, Doughty, Gregory, Arthur, Shakestone, Bantam, and Whetstone. Everybody comes on stage. Hopefully there aren't any clashes and people talk to themselves, but it is indeed possible, and hopefully Lynn is with us. All together now.
Joy, health, and children to the married
pair.
We thank you all.
So pray come in and fare.
As well as we and taste of every cake.
With bonny bridegroom and his lovely maids.
This begins bravely.
They agree better than the bells e'en now. Slid they rung tunably till we were all out of the church, and then they clattered as the devil had been in the belfry. On in the name of wedlock, fiddlers, on!
On with your melody!
Enter the gates with joy, and as you enter, play the sack of Troy. The fiddlers pass through and play the battle.
Now, that might be a stage direction. Anyway, spirits appear at this point.
Welcome, Bride Parnell.
Bridegroom Lawrence eke, in you before, for we this cake must break.
And Lawrence exits.
Over the bride.
As they lift up the cake, the spirit snatches it and pours down bran.
Forgive me! What's become of the cake, wife?
Slipped out of my hand and is fallen into crumbs, I think.
Crumbs? The devil of crumb is here, but bran, nothing but bran. What prodigy is this?
Is my best bride's cake come to this? Oh, we worth it.
Parnell exits, as well as Seeley, Joan, and maids.
How daintily the bride's hair is powdered with it.
My hair stands on end to see it.
And mine.
Shakestone? Who's Shakestone? Susan. Muted at present.
I was never so amazed.
What can it mean?
Perhaps think not on it. But 'tis but some of my father and mother's roguery. This is a law day with them, to do what they list.
I never fear anything, so long as my aunt has but bidden me think of her, and she'll warrant me.
Well, gentlemen, let's follow the rest in and fear nothing yet. The house smells well of good cheer.
Seeley enters around here.
Gentlemen, will it please you draw near? The guests are now all come, and the house almost full. Meat's taken up.
We were now coming.
But son Gregory, nephew Arthur, and the rest of the young gentlemen, I shall take it for a favour, if you will. It is an office which very good gentlemen do in this country. Accompany the bridegroom in serving the meat?
With all our heart.
Nay, neighbour Doughty, your years shall excuse you.
I am not so old, but I can carry more meat than I can eat. If the young rascals could carry their drink as well, the country would be quieter.
And there's a knock within, as at dresser.
Well, fare your hearts. The dresser calls in, gentlemen.
And the gentlemen exit.
'Tis a busy time. Yet I will review the bill of fare for this day's dinner. For 40 people of the best quality, 4 messes of meat, viz. A leg of mutton in plum broth, a dish of marrow bones, a capon in white broth, a sirloin of beef, a pig, a goose, a turkey, and 2 pies. For the second course, to every mess, 4 chickens in a dish, a couple of rabbits, custard, flan, florentines, and stewed prunes. All very good country fare. And for my credit.
The musicians enter, playing before Lawrence, Doughty, Arthur, Shakestone, Bantam, Whetstone, and Gregory with dishes. A spirit over the door does some action as to the dishes as they enter.
Oh, the service enters. Oh, well said. Music, play up the meat to the table till all be served. I'll see it pass in answer to my bill.
Hold up your head, master bridegroom.
Oh, the four fiddlers.
Oh, hang on. Let's see if Lynn's with us.
Sorry,
Lynn?
Lynn, didn't spot you.
Oh, I am Lawrence. Hi. On the four fiddlers, my double cruels in my Huns.
In Plymouth, a leg of mutton in plum broth. How now, Master Bridegroom, what carry you?
'Twere hot even now, but now it's caught in a steen.
A stone? 'Tis horn, man.
Aw.
It was mutton, but now 'tis the horns on it.
Oh, where's my bride?
He exits. Everybody else starts having a look under there at what's on their dishes.
Zooks! I brought as good a sirloin of beef from the dresser as knife could be put to, and see, I'll stay this house no longer.
And if this were not a capon in white broth, I'm one of the coop.
All is transformed. Look you what I have.
And I.
And I. Yet I fear nothing, thank my aunt.
Pie that's not opened yet. I'll see what's in that.
He opens the pie and birds fly out.
5 birds, as true as I live. Look where they fly.
The spirit exits.
Witches! Live witches! The house is full of witches! If we love our lives, let's out it!
And indeed, Joan and Winny enter.
Oh, husband. Oh, guests. Oh, son. Oh, gentlemen. Such a chance in a kitchen was never heard of. All the meat is flown out of the chimney top, I think, and nothing instead of it but snakes, bats, frogs, beetles, hornets, and humblebees. All the salads are turned to Jew's ears, mushrooms, and puckfists, and all the custards into cow shards.
What shall we do? Dare we stay any longer?
Dare we? Why not? I defy all witches and all their works. Their power on our meat cannot reach our persons.
I say so too. And so my aunt ever told me, so long I will fear nothing. Be not afraid, Master Doughty.
Zooks, I fear nothing living that I can see more than you, and that's nothing at all. But to think of these invisible mischiefs troubles me, I confess.
Sir, I will not go about to overrule your reason. But for my part, I will not out of a house on a bridal day till I see the last man born.
Zooks, thou art so brave a fellow that I will stick to thee. And if we come off handsomely, I am an old bachelor, thou knowst, and must have an heir. I like thy spirit. Where's the bride? Where's the bridegroom? Where's the music? Where be the lasses? Have you any wine at the house? Though we make no dinner, let's try if we can make an afternoon.
Nay, sir, if you please to stay, now that the many are frightened away, I have some good cold meats and 6 bottles of wine.
And I will bid you welcome.
Say you me so, but will not your son be angry and your daughter chide you?
Dare not you that, sir. Look you, I obey my father.
And just carry on with the dialogue.
And I, my mother.
And we are all at this instant as well and as sensible of our former errors as you can wish us to be.
Nay, if the witches have but robbed of your meat and restored your reason, here has been no hurt done today. But this is strange and as great a wonder as the rest to me.
It seems though these hags had power to make the wedding cheer and deceptio visas, the former store has escaped them.
I am glad, aunt. But the devil good 'em with my sirloin. I thought to have set that by mine own trencher. But have you cold meat, you say?
Yes, sir.
And wine, you say?
Yes, sir.
I hope the country wenches and the fiddlers are not gone.
Winny? Lynn, I think.
Yeah. And I'm on my like.
Bottom of the scene.
Oh, they are all here, and one of the merriest wench that makes all the rest so laugh and tickle.
Gentlemen, will you in?
Agreed on all
Agreed on
parts.
all parts.
If not a wedding, we will make a wake on't, and away with the witch. I fear nothing now you have your wits again, but look you hold 'em while you have 'em.
And they exit. End of scene. Okay.
Ooh.
Anyone recognize various horror tropes here? Oh, they lift up the dishes and it's all insects and mash and the custard has turned to cowpats. I love that moment. I thought, yeah. I mean, it's all sort of quite. It's and the bells ringing backwards is a really interesting thing. I don't think they mean in the sense of the sound going backwards, in the sense that
the Carillion is wrong.
Yeah.
Mm.
And because you'd be able to the mathematical sequencing of bell ringing is quite distinctive, and you would know it's quite out. So thoughts on this one? It's not much of a wedding. Well, I suppose it is. It's a great wedding. It's just a terrible great wedding. All good weddings are terrible weddings, frankly. When weddings go really well, everyone says, "Isn't it lovely?" Nobody remembers those. We want everyone to have a horrible fight and for the witches to turn up and just curse all the food. Simon, then Aliki, then Alan.
This would make a much better wedding than I've been to. Anyway, it's obviously I missed the beginning bit, but yesterday, but it feels like an extended episode of Scooby Doo. Notwithstanding the fact that for some reason Doughty just says Zooks, which is one step away from Zoiks. So if someone had read this Scooby Doo, Hanna-Barbera, they stole it from this clearly.
Yeah, I like that, Aliki.
I mean, obviously, in Scooby-Doo, there never are any actual supernatural doings, and in this play, as you can see. But so I was really interested in a couple of things. One is that when the platters are revealed, except for the first one, they don't say what it is. Although there's a whole list of things later, which gives the show an opportunity to do all kinds of, to find something horrible different every time, which is nice. The other thing is the change that happens to the Seeley family. Is it because the spirit goes away? In which case was the spirit there before? Is it because Whetstone keeps invoking the name of his aunt, who clearly is she must be as generous, I think, if I remember correctly. Is she?
I will just double check, but I'm fairly certain that is so, yes.
Or no, it's not generous, is it?
Whetstone is nephew to Generous and Anne.
Yeah, okay. So that's interesting, given her disappearances, her mysterious disappearances on horseback that we read last time. So I wonder what she's doing in here. And anyway, that's all I've got to say. I'm just nattering now.
Yeah, no, and the potential here for the kind of effects, it's leaving you open to some of them, the kind of horriblenesses that the stage management crew can come up with. Surprise the actors every show with something even more horrific. But also the birds flying out.
Yes.
The birds flying out of the pie is such I mean, again, it's the kind of thing that maybe you can only do once because you never see the bird again. Those kinds of birds flying effects do often go horribly wrong when tried in official ceremonies. It's like thousands of birds take off at this moment. they all evacuate at the same time or something.
They're all they've suffocated in wherever you kept them before, and like the. It's pretty bad.
Terrible. Animal safety is very important to us, so don't try this at home. Alan, then Susan.
Yeah, I was getting a very strong panto vibe with that banquet scene, and as you've alluded to, God help any actor that's prone to corpsing, because the backstage crew could really wreak havoc with any actor who was prone to reacting.
Well, yeah, but again, there is something disturbing about this scene as well. It is comic, but it's partly also to do with the enchantments on the household about how they're all acting and behaving as well. And one wonders whether there's still some of that going on. There are all sorts of things you can really dig into this scene, potentially, depending on where you want to spin it. Susan, then Aliki, then Sarah, then we must move on.
Well, I think it's memento moris. I don't know if you know those Renaissance paintings of fruit and there was a video piece not long ago which sped up the moldiness of as all these fruit disintegrated. And this reminds me of that, not remotely of pantomime. It's quite dark.
Yeah. I mean, but I think it potentially can be and it can be very light and very silly, but it can also, it really, I think there is a performance decision there that can change the tone of this scene incredibly quickly, from one to the other as well. Aliki, then Sarah.
So I wasn't brought up in a bell ringing religious tradition, but I think there's also something about the bells ringing out of time that's really distressing, because as I understand it, the bells are the blessing of God to some extent, made sound. So that it's backwards is...
Yeah. I'll briefly go to Lois and Sarah.
Yeah, ring the bells backwards is actually a sort of refrain. And well, I know when I was working on the period of the 1640s, the Civil War, when a lot of royalists felt that everything was being turned upside down. You get poems that just say ring the bells backwards, and it's all part of that feeling of, something really wicked happening to the world.
Sarah.
Yes, I was going to ask the question that Aliki sort of flagged up about when do all the spirits go? It seems at some point after the food's been brought in and the covers have been taken off, and it's all bats and frogs and cowpats. Then at some point there is this huge change, and it's like the curse is lifted on the house. And we're not quite sure where it happens, but the other thing I'm really interested is that we don't yet know why it's happened. And that's really intriguing me. It's like, why, given that the witches, why did they curse the place in the first place? But given that they decided they wanted to, why have they suddenly lifted this curse? It's leaving a lot of unanswered questions, this scene, which just kind of adds to the weirdness of it.
Well, I think within the logic of the scene, it's probably that the damage is done. They don't need to, it's like leaving your laptop on when you're done with it. We're just going to drain the battery.
But it's not just the food though. It's not just the food. It's the familial relationships, and that's been going on for a while already. So it's like, why would that suddenly end with the wedding?
Yeah, that's what I can't quite picture is, the behavior of the children to their parents. It must be obvious during the first part of the scene that everything is the wrong way round from a hierarchical point of view. And then at what point does it change? Is it just when Gregory says he's going to kneel? Well, if apparently he kneels and asks his father's blessing, and then the whole thing changes, or has something happened before then? And is there something that like a gong or a sound effect or something that indicates it?
And also, just pick up on Sarah's point, we don't have a genesis. Normally with these sort of accusations of enchantment or bewitching, that it's like someone said something nasty, or there's some sort of feud. There's no indication, particularly, that there's a feud going on here, or that they're just making mischief and making people's life for the pure hell of it. Which again drifts us away from a sort of real world situation where these accusations come about because of some sort of feud between peoples. Anyway, we must move on. We have a lot of ground to cover. Act 3, Scene 2. Generous and Robin enter with a paper.
I confess thou hast done a wonder in fetching me so good wine, but my good servant Robert, go not about to put a miracle upon me. I will rather believe that Lancaster affords this wine, which I thought impossible till I tasted it, than thou couldst in one night fetch it from London.
I have known when you have held me for an honest fellow, and would have believed me.
Knave to wish me to believe this. Forgive me. I would have sworn that if you had stayed with time answerable for the journey to his that flew to Paris and back to London in a day, it had been the same wine. It can never fall within the Christian's belief that thou couldst ride above 300 miles in 8 hours. You were no longer out, and upon one horse too, and in the night too.
And carry a wench behind me too, and did something else too. But I must not speak of her, lest I be devil-torn.
And fill thy bottles too, and come home half-drunk too, for so thou art. I would never have had such a fancy else.
I am sorry I have said so much and not let Lancaster have the credit of the wine.
Oh, are you so? Why have you abused me and yourself then all this while to glorify the mitre in Fleet Street?
I could say, sir, that you might have the better opinion of the wine, for there are a great many palates in the kingdom that can relish no wine, unless it be of such a tavern and drawn by such a drawer.
I said, and I say again, if I were within 10 mile of London, I dare swear that this was mitre wine, and drawn by honest Jack Payne.
Nay then, sir, I swore, and I swear again, honest Jack Payne drew it.
Yeah. I could believe there was such a thing as witchcraft. I should think this slave will bewitched now with an opinion.
Ha! Much good to you, sir, your wine and your mirth, and my place for your next groom. I desire not to be laughed out of my opinion.
No, be not angry, Robin. We must not part so. And how does my honest drawer? What news at London, Robin? Your stay was so short, I think you should hear none, and there's such your haste home that you can make none. It's not so, Robin. That strange fancy has good wine begot in his head.
Now will I push him over and over with a piece of paper. Yes, sir, I have brought you something from London.
Come on, now let me hear.
Your honest drawer, sir, considering that you considered him well for his good wine.
What shall we hear now?
Was very careful to keep or convey this paper to you, which it seems you dropped in the room there.
Why, bless me, this paper belongs to me indeed. 'Tis an acquittance, and all I have to show for the payment of £100. I took great care for it, and could not imagine where or how I might lose it. But why may this not be a trick? This knave may find it when I lost it, and conceal it till now to come over with me withal. I will not trouble my thoughts with it further at this time. Well, Robin, look to your business and have a care of my gelding.
Yes, sir.
Generous exits.
I think I have nettled him now, but not as I was nettled last night. 300 miles a night upon a raw-boned devil. As in my heart it was a devil, and then a wench that shared more in my back than the said devil did in my bum. This is rank riding, my masters. But why had I such an itch to tell my master of it? Oh, that he should believe it. I do now wish that I had not told him that he will not believe it, for I dare not tell him the means. For my wench and her friends, the fiends, will tear me to pieces if I discover her. A notable rake, she's at the wedding now, for as good a maid as the best of them.
Enter Mistress Generous with a bridle.
Oh, my mistress!
Robin!
Aye, mistress.
Quickly, good Robin, the grey gelding.
What are the horse, you please, mistress?
And why not that?
Truly, mistress, pardon me, I must be plain with you. I dare not deliver him. My master has taken a notice of the ill case. You have brought him home in divers times.
Oh, is it so? And must he be acquainted with my actions by you? And must I then be controlled by him? And now by you? You are a saucy groom.
You may say your pleasure.
He turns from her.
No, sir, I'll do my pleasure.
She bridles him.
Oh!
Horse, see thou be, and where I point thee, carry me.
And they exit neighing, as we can infer that he's been turned into a horse and that she rides him off. I mean, she might not actually fully transform into a horse. She might just climb on his back and he has to carry her away. But anyway, Mistress Generous seems like all the stories are true. We meet her, and within a second, she's bridled Robin. I mean, Robin's he's not very keen on his devil steed, and some of the things he's pleased with. Some things he got up to the other night, and less pleased of others. So this is again the way that magical things are both kind of normal and mundane, because it's like, God, he had to ride 300 miles last night. He's knackered, and yet, hang on, you just rode with the devil. Shouldn't you be a bit more freaked out than that? But then Robin is sort of a clown figure as well, so that's sort of all sorts of things going on here again. Lois.
Yeah, nice bit of product placement or something with the mitre and the drawer in the tavern too.
Yes. The mitre just keeps getting good. Mitre's got some great wine, hasn't it? Let's all go to the lobby. It's not really near the globe, so I don't know quite why that's happening, but never mind. Greg.
I was just going to say, the whole of Robin, I really felt like I could feel the journey with that. It was so beautifully written that, yes, it was a bit country yokel, but you could really sense what had happened the night before, however fantastical it was. I mean, it was beautifully written, that scene. I loved it. I think it was great.
Yeah, and then a wench that shared more on my back than the said devil did on my bum. I mean, some
you like that bit.
Lovely turns of phrase. As it was painting pictures with words. And this is the thing: is also it's fighting the battles it thinks it can fight. So this play is full of effects, but staging a 300-mile ride obviously isn't one that they've. I think we wouldn't balk at doing that today, because it's the kind of thing you could have a lot of fun doing that. But that's the kind of thing that the playwright sets aside as to be described, but is quite happy for people to turn into horses and greyhounds on stage instantaneously. It's somehow to be discussed. So yeah, Mistress Generous. Into some things. Okay. Act 3, Scene 3. Arthur, Shakestone, and Bantam enter.
Was there ever such a medley of mirth, madness, and drunkenness shuffled together?
Thy uncle and aunt, old Master Seeley and his wife, do nothing but kiss and play together like monkeys.
Yes, they do overlove one another now.
And young Gregory and his sister do as much overdo their obedience now to their parents.
And their parents as much overdote upon them. They're all as far beyond their wits now in loving one another as they were wide of them before in crossing.
Yet this is the better madness.
But the married couple that are both so daintily wit-led that now they are both mad to be abed before supper time, and by he will, and she won't. Straight she will, and he won't. The next minute they both forget they are married and defy one another.
My sides seem ache with laughter.
But the best sport of all is the old bachelor, Master Doughty, that was so cautious and feared everything to be witchcraft, is now wound up to such a confidence that there is no such thing that he does the devil do his worst, and will not out of the house by all persuasion, and all for the love of the husbandman's daughter within, Mal Spencer.
There I am in some danger. He put me into half a belief I shall be his heir. Pray, love, she be not a witch to charm his love from me. Of what condition is that wench? Dost thou know her?
A little, but Whetstone knows her better.
Hang him, rogue, he'll belie her and speak better than she deserves. He's in love with her too. I saw old Doughty give him a box of the ear for kissing her, and he turned about as he did by thee yesterday and swore his aunt should know it.
Who would have thought that impudent rogue would have come among us after such a baffle?
He told me he had complained to his aunt on us, and that she would speak with us.
We will alter her to patch up the business, for the respect I bear her husband, noble Generous.
Here he comes.
Whetstone enters.
Hark you, Master Byblow. Do you know the lass within? What do you call her? Mal Spencer?
Sir, what I know I'll keep to myself. A good, civil, merry, harmless rogue she is, and comes to my aunt often, and that's all I know by her.
You do well to keep it to yourself, sir.
And you may do well to question her if you dare, for the testy old coxcomb that will not let her go out of his hand.
Take heed, he's at your heels.
Doughty, Moll, and the two country lasses, mentioned earlier, enter.
Come away, wenches! Where are you, gentlemen? Play, fiddlers, let's have a dance. Ha, my little rogue! Zooks! What ails thy nose?
My nose? Nothing, sir. Yet methought a fly touched it. Did you see anything?
No, yet I would almost have sworn I would not have Sprite or Goblin blast thy face for all thy kingdom, but hang it, there is no such thing. Fiddlers, will you play?
And they play an extant tune that still exists today, Sellinger's Round.
Gentlemen, will you dance?
With all our
hearts.
But stay, where's this household, this family of love? Let's have them into the revels.
Hold a little then.
Here they come, all in a true love knot.
Seeley, Joan, Gregory, and Winny enter.
Oh, Father, 20 times a day is too little to ask you blessing.
Beg your pardon? Oh, go to, you are a rascal. And you, housewife, teach your daughter better manners. I'll ship you all for New England else.
The knot's untied, and this is another change.
Yes, I will teach her manners, or put her out to spin twopenny tow, so you, dear husband, will but take me into favour. I'll talk with you, dame, when the strangers are gone.
Dear father,
Dear mother,
dear father and mother,
father and
pardon
mother,
us, but
pardon us
this
for this
time.
Never.
Never, and therefore hold your peace.
Nay, that's unreasonable.
No!
And they weep.
But for your sake I'll forbear them, and bear with anything this day.
Do you note this? Now they are all worse than they ever were, in contrary vein. What think you of witchcraft now?
They are all natural fools, man. I find it now. Art thou mad to dream of witchcraft?
Is as much changed and bewitched as they, I fear.
Heyday! Here comes the pair of boiled lovers in sorrel sops.
And Lawrence and Parnell enter.
Nay, dear honey. Nay, honey.
Oh,
But
no,
AIDS
isn't it?
eats.
Isn't that Lynn?
Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry. I was that yesterday. That's my fault.
You're right.
nay, dear honey, nay, honey, but ain't.
Ha, ha, nah, I have sworn, not a bit afore bed. And look you, is but now dancing time?
Come away, bridegroom. We'll stay your stomach with a dance. Now, masters, play a good. Come, my lass, we'll show 'em how 'tis.
And once again, more Sellinger's Round. As they begin to dance, they'll shift into another tune and fall into many others. They'll keep the music ticking over, just to stop everyone getting bored of Sellinger's Round again.
Whether now,
But now,
ho!
ho!
Heyday! Why, you rogues.
Does the devil ride o' your fiddlesticks?
You drunken rogues. Hold, I say, and begin again soberly. The beginning of the world.
And music, the musicians play each of them play a different tune, basically, is what the stage direction means here. Everyone a several tune. They're all doing their own thing.
How's this?
Everyone a several tune.
This is something towards it. I bade them play the beginning of the world, and they play I know not what.
No, just running of the country several ways. But what do you think on it?
And the music stops.
Think? I think they are drunk. Prithee, do not thou think of witchcraft. For my part, I shall as soon think this maid one as there's any in Lancashire. Why dost thou laugh?
To think this bridegroom should once have been mine, but he shall rue it. I'll hold him this point, aunt, and that's all I care for him.
A witty rogue.
I tell you, sir, they say she made a pail follow her t'other day up 2 pair of stairs.
You lying rascal.
Oh, sir, forget your anger.
Look you, Master Bridegroom, what my care provides for you.
What? Wait.
Yes, put it in your pocket. It may stand you in stead anon when all your points be taken away, to dress up your trinkets. I mean, your slops withal.
Mal, for all acquaintance, I will make thy point a point of preferment. It shall be the foreman of hail jury of point, and right here I will wear it.
And he attaches it to his person.
Will you? And love we no be forgotten. But I've never been jealous and mair for that.
Play, fiddlers, anything.
Aye, and let's see your faces that you play fairly with us.
And the musicians show themselves above.
We do, sir, as loudly as we can, possibly.
Play out that we may hear you.
So we do, sir, as loud as we can possibly.
Do you hear anything?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Not
Not
we,
we,
sir.
sir.
'Tis so. The rogues are bribed to cross me, and their fiddles shall suffer. I will break 'em as small as the bride cake was today.
Look you, sir, they'll save you a labour. They're doing it themselves.
The musicians are now doing some rather violent things to their own instruments.
Oh, brave fiddlers! There was never better scuffling for the Tudbury Bowl.
This is Mother Johnson and Goody Dickison's roguery. I find it, but I cannot help it. Yet I will have music. Sir, there's a piper without would be glad to earn money.
Oh, she has spoke to purpose, and whether this were witchcraft or not, I have heard my aunt say 20 times that no witchcraft can take hold of a Lancashire bagpipe, for itself is able to charm the devil. I'll fetch him.
And Whetstone exits.
Well said. A good boy. Now, come, bride and bridegroom, leave your kissing and fooling and prepare to come into the dance. We'll have a hornpipe, and then a posset, and to bed when you please.
And enter Piper with Whetstone.
Welcome, Piper. Blow till thy bag crack again. A lusty hornpipe, and all into the dance, nay, young and old.
And they dance. Lawrence and Parnell reel in the dance. At the end, Mull vanishes, as well as the piper.
Bravely performed.
Stay, where's my lass?
Vanished. She and the
piper both vanished. Nobody knows how.
Now do I plainly perceive again. Here has been nothing but witchery all this day. Therefore, into your posset and agree among yourselves as you can. I'll out of the house, and gentlemen, if you love me or yourselves, follow me.
Aye.
Away.
And lots of people exit. Leaving Seeley, etc.
Oh, I do beg your pardon. Now, good son, wife and daughter, let me entreat you, be not angry.
Oh, you are a trim mother, are you not?
Indeed, child, I'll do so no more.
Sir, I'll talk with you. Your champions are all gone.
Well, sir, and that one you do then? Why, where's what's here to do? Come away quickly and see us into your bed's chamber, delicately lodged together, or we'll wrap you out of doors of the morn and sojourn in the common. Come away.
We follow you.
We follow you.
And they exit. Okay, I think we figured out what Act 3 is doing. Act 3 is the crazy shit happens act. We had the wedding, and now we have the dance sequence, the musicians going haywire, and once again, vanishing act. It's like they've really got their vanishing effects sewn up for this show, and it's like we're just going to keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it because we've got the stuff in the traps set up. We're going to just keep doing this. Aliki.
So it struck me as we were reading this that this is the early modern, or at any rate pre-technological version of the scene where the television keeps switching to the wrong channel without you touching it, or your music won't play right.
Yeah.
And it's a really distressing effect when it's with a television or with technology generally. And I wonder how it works with humans. But that, play this, no, not that, play that, no. And they're always playing the wrong thing. Or the bit that would have been really fascinating is them playing different things all at the same time.
Yeah.
Really lovely stuff.
Yes, and because of course they're enchanted again. So once again, we have this whole thing of when people are enchanted, they are not in control. They are puppets, meat puppets of the witches, and doing their thing. And just how disturbing do you want to make that? Because you can make that really disturbing as well in terms of how much, how jerkily or controlled do they seem to be, like little dolls. And again, you've got this Mal just going, "Oh, hang on, is it the other?" And do you get the impression that the witches are sort of they're not all working together as well? That that there are rival witcheries going on here. Lois, then Simon.
Yeah, I think this play was probably being done at Blackfriars, which would explain, the Mitre is actually quite near there in Fleet Street. And also it might explain why they can do all these effects. They would have had more things they could do with lighting, probably.
The only notes I've got for it are at the Globe, but that doesn't mean it wasn't also performed at Blackfriars.
They normally use both playhouses, didn't they?
Yeah. But in terms of this, its performance is sort of mid-August, so I'm assuming they're still in the Globe at this point. But yes, just because you write it for one doesn't mean you haven't thought about it for the other. So that seems reasonable. Simon.
No, I was just going to pick up something that Sarah actually wrote in the chat there about the Who, because it's such a visual thing with them smashing their instruments, and I really, obviously I thought of Nirvana immediately, but you can imagine what a moment that would be for an audience, especially it would come out as such a surprise. And I think it's written in such a way that I don't know, it's very easy to visualize an audience's visceral reaction, especially of course with however or not they brought off the effects. I can imagine that being a brilliant spectacle. Just all of a sudden, bang! The bill
because they're above, so they're suitably far away with a balcony logic that they can literally be playing with a fiddle, and that's all fine. And then drop it down on the floor, pick up the balsa wood one, smash, and make damn sure they've picked up the right one, because there are horror stories of productions where incredibly valuable instruments have gone for a Burton. Sarah.
Yeah, it was Alan, I think, actually, who mentioned the Who, to give credit where it's due. The other thing is, not only were these instruments incredibly expensive, but also for fiddlers at that era, this was their complete livelihoods. This was their full-time job, and so it's super shocking that that they end up doing this, breaking their means of livelihood, and not just that these instruments are expensive, but that's it. That's their, how long is it going to take them to be able to save up to afford another fiddle or whatever? So it's like, oh my God, it's just like mayhem.
Then they come in, they have the piper, and there's this lusty dance, and you disappear with a piper. There's again, so it's not just the music, it's the dancing as well, and how that's functioning, which we've only really scratched the surface of. There's so much potential here, and again, for a modern audience, this is where we'd put the interval, isn't it? It's either just before this scene, and this is how you wake the audience up after the interval, or because you've had the wedding, so you could do the wedding as the interval, and then, or you could pull it at the end of this. So you've got a couple of options there. Aliki, Lois, Sarah, then we must move on.
Okay. I think we've got a bit of a clue here to both the genesis and to what's really going on. Moll has told us twice now that she was going to marry Lawrence. Is the whole thing her revenge on him? And also with her mentioning the other witches, what if we've got 2 or possibly 3 different sets of witches operating on these people for different purposes? So at one point they're wrenched into this bizarre behavior, and then somebody tries to reverse it and they go too far in the other.
Yes, because in a sense we've got two-ish witches within the story, in the sense we've got Mistress Generous and we got Mal. The other witches are just some people who we've seen vaguely interacting with them, but they're not really part. They don't seem integrated into the community in the same way. So there's something about insider and outsider witches here that might be something to dig into. Lois.
Yeah, one of the fascinating things about this, and it'd be really fun to do it in performance, is all that evocation of old wedding customs. I mean, I certainly never heard before of that one of breaking the cake over the bride's head as he comes in, which I assume must be real, because otherwise what would be the point of mentioning it? And, all these other things that are going on, you could really kind of evoke all of that and then have all the fun of it all being wrecked or turned upside down.
Sarah, then Susan.
Yes, that fiddler that Mal conjures, and they open the door and he comes in and he starts playing. He's obviously an enchanted fiddler. I kind of put it in the chat, but I think it would be really good fun if when that fiddler comes in, they're actually dressed like they're a beast of some description, playing the fiddle. And they just come in, with their horns or their hooves or their wings or whatever, and none of the humans notice or register that this, they just look at this fiddler and think he's human, but the audience can see that this fiddler is actually some sort of, crazy enchanted beast. I think that would be fun.
Susan.
Globes. I'm seeing. I've just been in a room with huge globes, Renaissance globes, and wouldn't it be marvelous if there was some kind of chorus moving the world turned upside down? There's all these different sorts of globes that have different things on them, don't they? And that they might have powers. I'm just design. I'm thinking design.
That's cool. This is a play that requires some of that, so we can't avoid that question. It's not like, just put some actors on stage, it will be fine. This is disappearing things, different locations. Oh yeah, it's all over. Act 4, Scene 1. We must move on, however. Mistress Generous enters with Robin, who we can infer is probably still bridled or maybe somewhat horse-like. I don't know.
Know you this jingling bridle if you see it again? I wanted but a pair of jingling spurs to make you mend your pace and put you into a sweat.
Yes, I have reason to know it after my hard journey. They say there be light women, but for your own part, though you be merry, yet I may be sorry for your heaviness.
I see that thou art not quite tired by shaking of thyself. 'Tis a sign that as thou hast brought me hither, so thou art able to bear me back. And so you are like, good Robert. You will not let me have your master's gelding, you will not? Well, sir, as you like this journey, so deny him to me hereafter.
You say well, mistress. You have jaded me. The pox take you for a jade. Now I bethink myself how damnably did I ride last night, and how devilishly I have been rid now.
Do you grumble, you groom? Now the bridle's off. I turn thee to grazing. Gramercy, my good horse. I have no better provender for thee at this time. Thou hadst best, like Aesop's ass, to feed upon thistles, of which this place will afford thee plenty. I am bid to a better banquet, which done, I'll take thee up from grass, spur cut, and make a short cut home. Farewell.
And exit Mistress Generous.
Pox upon your tail.
All the witches enter, boys, spirits, etc., and Mal at several doors. Mistress Generous will return, and Robin remains about, but to one side.
The lady of the feast is come.
Welcome.
Is all the cheer that was prepared to grace the wedding feast yet come?
Part of it's here, the other we must pull for. But what's he?
My horse. My horse.
And everybody exits, leaving Robin behind.
My horse! My horse! Would I were now some country major and in authority to see if I would not venture to rouse your satanical sisterhood. Horse! Horse! See thou be, and where I point thee, carry me. Oh, is that the trick on it? The devil himself shall be her carrier next if I can shun her, and yet my master will not believe there's any witches. There's no running away. For I neither know nor now nor whether. Besides, to my thinking, there's a deep ditch and a high quickset about me. How shall I pass the time? What place is this? It looks like an old barn. I'll peep in at some cranny or other and try if I can see what they are doing. Ooh, such a bevy of Bantams did I never behold, and cramming like to many cormorants. Marry, choke you with a mischief.
And indeed, the witches are all about doing things, Robin having a look.
There's a stir, never a cat, never a cur, but that we must have this dimmer.
A second course.
Just run it on.
Okay, right, sorry. Pull, and pull hard, for all that hath lately been prepared for the great wedding feast.
As chief of Doughty's sirloin of roast beef.
'Tis come, 'tis come.
Where hath it all this while been?
Some delay hath kept it, now 'tis here. For bottles next of wine and beer, the merchant sellers they shall pay for it.
Well, what sod or roast meat more, pray tell?
Pull for the poultry, fowl and fish, for empty shall not be a dish.
A pox take 'em! Must only they feed upon hot meat, and I upon nothing but cold salads?
This meat is tedious. Now, some fairy, fetch what belongs unto the dairy.
That's butter, milk, whey, curds, and cheese. We nothing by the bargain lees.
Boy, here's meat for you.
Thank you.
And drink, too.
What beast was by thee hither rid?
A badger, Nab.
And I bestrid a porcupine that never pricked.
The dull sides of a bear I kicked. I know how you read, Lady Nan.
Upon the knave, my man.
A murrain take you! I am sure my hoof's paid for it.
Meat, lie there, but thou hast no taste and drink. There, but thou hast no relish. For in neither of them is there either salt or savour.
Pull for the posset! Pull!
The bride's posset on my knife! Now, if they come to their spoon meat once, I hope they'll break up their feast presently.
So, those that are our waiters near, take hence this wedding cheer. We will be lively all, and make this barn our hall.
You are familiars, come. In speech let all be dumb. And to close up our feast, to welcome every guest, a merry round let's dance.
Some music then i' the air, whilst thus by pair and pair we nimbly footed. Strike!
And music plays.
We are obeyed.
And we Hell's ministers shall lend our aid.
Dance and song together in the time of which the boy speaks.
It's there and there, jollity. Do not mind me. Steal away. Shit for myself. I lose my life for it.
And exit boy.
Enough! Now part to see the bride's vexed heart, the bridegroom's too, and all that vomit up their gall for lack of the wedding cheer.
Stay, where's the boy? Look out, if he escape us, we are all betrayed.
No following further. Yonder horsemen come. In vain is our pursuit. Let's break up court.
Where shall we next meet?
At mill.
But when?
At night.
To horse. Where's my mammalian?
And my incubus.
Robin stands amazed at this.
My tiger to bestride.
My puggy.
My horse.
Away! The night we have feasted. Now comes the day.
And we can infer an awful lot of witches disappear.
Come, Sarah. Stoop your head like a tame jade whilst I put on your bridle.
Robin.
I pray, mistress, ride me as you would be rid.
That's at full speed.
Nay, then I'll try conclusions.
And we can infer that there's he puts the bridle on her.
Mare, see thou be, and where I point thee, carry me. A great noise within. Oh, sorry, that's a stage direction.
Yeah, a great noise within at their parting, and they exit. And again, we can infer that they have swapped places at this particular moment. A very confused scene, in part because of a question of overreach, potentially for some of the inferred stage directions. Hence the fact I asked you not to read them. But there's awful lot of questions about where the magic food is coming from, how it's being brought on stage, and also the important point. Of course, this is fairy food; it doesn't taste of anything, as the boy brings up. And I suspect there's sort of a lot of exits and entrances going on there, but there's also a lot of staticness in the sense that this is all being shown to Robin, and Robin seeing all this, and this sort of little witches get together where they all do the things and they have a little witchy feast and a bit of a song and dance. They get to song and dance immediately following a scene about a song and dance. So a little bit of juxtaposition there. Aliki then, Sarah.
So I'm not convinced it's fairy food. I think that it is, in fact, the food from the previous feast, just as this is the music and dancing the previous feast should have had. It's just that he's enchanted, so it doesn't taste right. There's definitely something fairy-ish there, that whole thing of eating, not eating the magical food. But I don't think that the food itself is anything but real. I think they've somehow stolen the real food.
Yes, it's just that line sort of confuses that issue, and it's like I think I'd probably just cut that to make it clear that that's what they've done, rather than the other way around, because either it's a magic or fairy feast or it's not, and the scene seems to want it to be both. Sarah.
Yeah. It's an inverse of the scene before, which is why you've got all the dancing. It's like Aliki said, it's the dancing that should have happened at the real feast, and then it happens here instead. I think, it's real food, but kind of brought there by fairy magic. I don't think there'd be a problem, like, kind of marrying those two things together. I was just really intrigued by two things. One, while we're still on the food, I'm thinking one way you could stage this today would be, instead of like pulling on, I don't know quite on what, but you could have like an old-fashioned bell system, like when you pull a bell for servants, and you could pull a bell, and then like various sprites or whatever could appear with the with the dishes of food. I don't know. I was just thinking of ways that you could stage this.
Well, I'm just thinking of the mechanics of the flying pail earlier. That maybe basically there is just one whacking great washing line, which these effects are all being mechanically brought on. You know, pull the string.
But I was just going to say as well, I'm really intrigued by the end of this scene because the fact that Robin grabs hold of the bridle and is then able to saddle Mistress Generous suggests that it's the bridle that's magic rather than her. She's not got any inherent power of her own. It's like the magic resides in a thing, which is a really old trope. But I'm thinking, so where are these witches getting their power from then? Is this because clearly it's not in her? The magic's not working through her. It's in the object. So what's going on?
Yeah. I mean, there's part of me just going, again, it's just an inversion. It's a jest book kind of bit of business. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if we can figure out which jest book it's from, because it sounds awfully familiar. It's not quite in Faustus, but it does feel like that kind of material. And there is a sense of them mashing everything into this play without really having a proper through line. It's like, why are the witches doing anything? Well, there sometimes seems like there's a reason, but most of the time there isn't. And this thing, and it's like, it's all the food from the wedding, but the boy thinks it doesn't have any taste, and it's just like, well, but why? And I don't know why. And it's sort of like, and it's just like, why are they doing any of these things? Because it's fun. That's why. Agents of chaos. Susan.
And I'm having another visual idea. A travelator, 3 or 4 different travelators of different sizes going across some front of the stage, higher up, and below. I mean, if you had loads of dough, wouldn't that be fun? What's going to come this time? Will you remember it? What's that game where you see these things crossing?
Yeah, it's it's a posit. It's meat. It's meat. It's a cuddly toy. It's a magical bridle.
I insist.
The sushi bars where the things just keep coming round and round.
Magical sushi. That's what it is. Right. Okay. We've got our modernist setting. It's a modernist sushi bar, but for magic. Okay. Fun times. Okay. Act 4, Scene 2. Master Generous enters, making him ready.
I see what man is loath to entertain offers itself to him most frequently, and that which we most covet to embrace doth seldom court us, and proves most averse. For I, that never could conceive a thought of this my woman worthier rebuke, as one that in her youth bore her so fairly, that she was taken for a seeming saint, to render me such just occasion that I should now distrust her in her age. Distrust? I cannot. That would bring me in the poor aspersion of fond jealousy, which even from our first meeting I abhorred. Gentle passion sometimes we observe in sunder beds, but most in these hot months, June, July, August. So we did last night. Now I, as ever, tender of her health, and therefore rising early, as I use, entering her chamber to bestow on her accustomed visit, find the pillow swelled, unbruised with any weight, the sheets unruffled, the curtains neither drawn nor bed laid down, which shows she slept not in my house tonight. Should there be any contract betwixt her and this my groom to abuse my honest trust, I should not take it well. But for all this, yet I cannot I be jealous? Robin!
Robin enters.
Is my horse safe, lusty, and in good plight? What, pretty well?
Yes, sir. He's got broad buttocks and full flanked. He doth not bate an ace of his flesh.
When was he rid last?
Not, sir, since you backed him.
Sirrah, take heed I find you not a knave. Have you not lent him to your mistress late, so late as this last night?
Who? Aye, sir? May I die, sir, if you find me in a lie, sir.
Then I shall find him where I left him last.
No doubt, sir.
Give me the key of the stable.
There, sir.
Sirrah, your mistress was abroad all night, nor has she yet come home. If there I find him not, I shall find thee, what to this present hour I never did suspect, and, I must tell thee, will not be to thy profit.
And exit generous.
Well, sir, find what you can. Him you shall find, and what you find else, it may be for that. Instead of gramercy horse, you may say gramercy Robin. You will believe there are no witches. Had I not been late bridal, I could have said more, but I hope she is tied to the rack that will confess something, and though not so much as I know, yet no more than I dare justify.
And enter generous.
Have you found your geldings, sir?
Yes, I have.
I have not, hope not spurred nor put into a sweat. You may see by his plump belly and sleek legs, he has not been sore travailed.
You're a saucy groom to receive horses into my stables and not ask me leave. It's for my profit to buy hay and oats for every stranger's jades.
I hope, sir, you find them feeding there but your own. If there be any you suspect, they have nothing to chomp on but the bridle.
Sirrah, whose jade is that tied to the rack?
Oh, the mare, you mean, sir?
Yes, that old mare.
Old, do you call her? Oh, you shall find the mark still in her mouth when the bridle is out of it. I can assure you 'tis your own beast.
A beast thou art to tell me so. Hath the wine not yet left working? Not the mitre wine that made thee to believe witchcraft? Really persuade me to be a drunken sot like to thyself, and not to know mine own.
I'll not persuade you to anything. You'll believe nothing but what you see. I say the beast is your own, and you have the most right to keep her. She hath cost you more the currying than all the combs in your stable are worth. You have paid for her provender this 20 years and upwards, and furnished with all the caparisons that she hath worn of my knowledge, and because she hath been ridden hard the last night, do you renounce her now?
Sirrah, I fear some stolen jade of your own that you would have me keep.
I am sure I found her no jade at the last time I rid her. She carried me the best part of 100 miles in less than quarter of an hour.
The devil she did.
Yes, so I say, either the devil or she did. When it please you, walk in and take her off her bridle, and then tell me who had more right to her, you or I.
Well, Robert, for this once I'll play the groom and do your office for you.
Exit generous.
I pray do, sir, but take heed lest when the bridle is out of her mouth, she put it not into yours. If she do, you are a gone man. If she but say once, horse, horse, see thou be you rid, if you please, for me.
Enter Master Generous and Mistress Generous, he with a bridle.
My blood is turned to ice, and all my vitals have ceased their working. Dull stupidity surprised me at once, and hath arrested that vigorous agitation which till now expressed a life within me. I, methinks, am a mere marble statue, no man. Unweave my age, O time, to my first thread. Let me lose 50 years in ignorance spent, that being made an infant once again, I may begin to know what or where am I, be thus lost in wonder?
Sir,
Amazement still pursues me. Am I changed or brought here? I can understand myself into this new world.
You will believe no witches?
It makes me believe all, aye, anything, and that myself am nothing. Prithee, Robert, lay me to myself open. What art thou, or this new transformed creature?
I am Robin, and this your wife, my mistress.
Tell me the earth shall leave its seat, and mount to kiss the moon, or that the moon, enamoured of the earth, shall leave her sphere to stoop to us thus low. What's this in my hand that an instant can from a four-legged creature make a thing so like a wife?
A bridle, a jingling bridle, sir.
A bridle? Hence enchantment!
Casts it away. Robin takes it up.
A viper were more safe within my hand than this charmed engine.
Take heed what you do. If you cast it hence and she catch it up, we that are here now may be as rid as far as the Indies within these few hours. Mistress, down of your mare's bones, or your marrow bones, with you please, and confess yourself to be what you are, and that's in plain English, a witch. A grand, notorious witch.
A witch? My wife, a witch?
So it appears by the story.
The more I strive to unwind myself from this meander, I the more therein am intricated. Pretty woman, art thou a witch?
it cannot be denied. I am such a cursed creature.
Keep aloof, and do not come too near me. For my trust have I, since first I understood myself, been of my soul so chary still to study what best was foretells, to renounce all the works of that black fiend with my best force, and hath that serpent twined me so about that I must lie so often and so long with the devil in my bosom.
Pardon, sir.
Pardon. Can such a thing as that be hoped? Lift up thine eyes, lost woman, to yon hills. It must be thence expected. Look not down into that horrid dwelling which thou hast sought at such dear rate to purchase. Prithee, tell me, for now I can believe, art thou a witch?
I am.
With that word I am thunderstruck, and know not what to answer. Yet resolve me. Hast thou made any contract with that fiend, the enemy of mankind?
Oh, I have.
What? And how far?
I have promised him my soul.
10,000 times better thy body had been promised to the stake. Ay, and mine too, to have suffered with thee in a hedge of flames, and such a compact ever had been made. Oh!
What cheer, sir? Show yourself a man that she appeared so late a beast? Oh, mistress, confess all. Better here than in the worst place. Out with it.
Resolve me. How far doth that contract stretch?
What interest in this soul myself could claim I freely gave him, but his part that made it I still reserve, not being mine to give.
Cunning devil, foolish woman, no, where he can claim but the least little part, he will have usurped the whole. Thou art a lost woman.
I hope not so.
Why, hast thou any hope?
Yes, sir, I have.
Make it appear to me.
I hope I never bargain for that fire further than penitent tears have power to quench.
I would see some of them.
You behold them now, if you look on me with charitable eyes, tinctured in blood, blood issuing from the heart. Sir, I am sorry. When I look towards heaven, I beg a gracious pardon. When on you, methinks your native goodness should not be less pitiful than they. Gainst both I have erred. From both I beg atonement.
May I presume it?
I kneel to both your mercies.
Knowst thou what a witch is?
Alas, none better, or after mature recollection can be more sad to think on't.
Tell me, are those tears as full of true-hearted penitence as mine of sorrow to behold what desperate state thou art fallen in?
Sir, they are.
Rise, and as I do, so heaven pardon me, we all offend, but from such falling off defend us. Well I do remember, wife, when I first took thee, 'twas for good and bad. O change thy bad to good, that I may keep thee. As we then passed our faiths till death us sever, I will not aggravate thy grief too much by needless iteration. Robin, hereafter forget thou hast a tongue. If the least syllable of what hath passed be rumoured, you lose me. But if I find you faithful, you gain me forever.
A match, sir. You shall find me as mute as if I had the bridle still in my mouth.
Ay, woman, thou hadst need to weep thyself into a fountain, such a penitent spring as may have the power to quench invisible flames, in which my eyes shall aid. Too little all, if not too little. All's forgiven, forgot, only thus much remember. Thou hast exterminated thyself out of the blessed society of saints and angels, but on thy repentance I take thee to my bosom once again, my wife, sister, and daughter. Settle my gelding, some business that may hold me for 2 days, calls me aside.
I shall, sir.
Exit Generous and Mistress Generous.
What?
Well, now my mistress, I promised to give over a witchery, I hope. Though I still continue her man, yet she will make me no more her journeyman. Prevent which the first thing I do shall be to burn the bridle, and then away with the witch.
Exit Robin. Oh, he's been told to keep his tongue silent. Do we think that's going to happen? No. Tell you for a certainty, he definitely won't. It's on public record. Yeah, Mistress Generous is a witch, having been changed back, and all this back and forth about the mayor in the stable, Robin's tricks on her there. There's quite a different energy to this scene. It's and it's like Mistress Generous is like, "Are you a witch?" "Yes, I am." And I didn't feel a journey of repentance with Mistress Generous. I mean, it's difficult because we've barely met her, but only 5 minutes ago she was, cavorting with her fellow witches and turning people into, animals. And then the moment she's found out, I'm terribly sorry. I'm sorry for worshipping Satan. I didn't mean to. Interesting. Lois.
I mean, that is what tends to happen in these plays. I mean, repentance tends to be the minute someone is found out, they suddenly, realize that they were doing the wrong thing. I mean, it's this feeling. I used to notice it when students were convicted of plagiarism. They didn't think they were being found being punished because it was wrong. They thought it was wrong because they were being punished. And I think it's sort of like that with her.
Yes, the additional sin of being found out. And I mean, in that sense, it's like suddenly there are consequences and people know. And it's like, how she thought she could keep it a secret, God only knows. I'm only sorry I got caught. Simon.
I was going to say it earlier, but I just wanted to see whether it would happen or not. But we were talking about what is compelling them. And obviously we've had a couple of mentions of the devil now. So I was just wondering if we might see an appearance of the devil at some point.
Ooh, yeah, well, it's not impossible. He's not down on the cast list for today, but this is the problem. He just turns up.
He can have one of my globes.
Yeah, it is one of those things. Yeah, you call on the devil once, and he'll appear. And I mean, there's not much detail about the contract. I'd like to see some paperwork.
Yeah. Yeah, that bit's interesting about mental reservation, I suppose is what it was really. Her idea that she was bequeathing him her soul only insofar as she had the power to do it, but since it was made by God, then that part of it was safe. I mean, which of course Mr. Generous suspects is not really a valid qualification.
Yeah, always pass documentation to your lawyer when you're making any agreements with Satan, because some maguses do manage to find loopholes and make it work, but you've got to be really clever or just know your stuff. Now, we have time just to squeeze in one more scene, which I think I'd like to do because the size of the room. Just on a note, though, I'll ask Susan. I'm going to take Parnell away from you, so you're Shakestone still. And I'll give Parnell to Greg, if I may. Is Greg still here?
I think Greg left the room.
He left the room. Oh well. Best laid plans. Oh well. I'll read Parnell for now. I think everybody's in this scene, so and you may talk to yourself, but I don't think you do. But it's a very busy scene, and I thought we'll use the people while we got it. So Act 4, Scene 3. Arthur and Doughty enter.
Sir, you have done a right noble courtesy, which deserves a memory as long as the name of friendship can bear mention.
What I have done, I had done. If it be well, 'tis well. I do not like the bouncing of good offices. If the little care I have taken shall do these poor people good, I have my end in't, and so my reward.
Enter Bantam.
Now, gentlemen, you seem very serious.
'Tis true we are so, but you're welcome to the knowledge of our affairs.
How does thine uncle and aunt, Gregory and his sister, the families of Seeleys, agree yet? Can you tell?
This is the business. The Seeley household is divided now.
How so, I pray?
You know, and cannot but with pity know, their miserable condition. How the good old couple were abused and how the young abused themselves. If we may say that any of them are themselves at all, which sure we cannot, nor approve them fit to be their own disposers, that would give the governance of such a house and living into their vassals' hands, to trust them out on without law or order. This considered, this gentleman and myself have taken home by fair entreaty the old folks to this house, the young to mine, until some wholesome order by the judicious of the Commonwealth shall for their persons and estate be taken.
But what becomes of Lawrence and his Parnell, the lusty couple? What do they now?
Alas, poor folks, they are as far to seek of how they do, or what they should do, as any of the rest. They are all grown idiots, until some of these damnable jades with their devilish devices be found out. To discharm them no remedy can be found. I mean to lay the country for their hagships, and if I can anticipate the purpose of their grand master devil, to confound them before their lease be out, be sure I'll do it.
A skimmington! A skimmington! A skimmington!
What's the matter now? Is hell broke loose?
And Master Shakestone enters.
Tom Shakestone, how now? Canst tell the news?
The news? You hear it up in the air, do you?
A skimmington! A skimmington! A skimmington!
Hark you, do you not hear it? There's a skimmington towards, gentlemen.
Where, wedlock, ho!
At whose suit, I prithee, is Don Skimmington come to town?
I'll tell you, gentlemen, since you have taken home old Seeley and his wife to your house, and you, their son and daughter, to yours, the housekeepers Lawrence and his late bride Parnell are fallen out by themselves.
How, prithee?
The quarrel began, they say, upon the wedding night, and in the bride bed.
For want of bedstaves?
No, but a bitter implement, it seems. The bridegroom was unprovided of a homely tale to tell.
Now out upon her, she has a greedy worm in her. I have heard the fellow complained on for an over-mickle man among the maids.
Is his haste to go to bed at afternoon come to this now?
Witchery, witchery, more witchery still, flat and plain witchery. Now do I think upon the codpiece point the young jade gave him at the wedding. She is a witch, and that was a charm, if there be any in the world.
A legatory point.
Alas, poor Lawrence.
He's coming to make his mean to you about it. And she too, since you have taken their masters and mistresses to your care, you must do them right too.
Marry, but I'll not undertake her at these years, if lusty Lawrence cannot do it.
But has she beaten him?
Grievously broke his head, as I know not how many places, of which the hoydens have taken notice, and will have a skimmington on horseback presently. Look you, here comes both plaintiff and defendant.
Lawrence and Parnell enter.
How now, Lawrence? What has thy wedlock brought thee already to thy nightcap?
God what, sir, I were wadded, but all to sign.
Han you reason to complain, or I trow you Gifford donut? Why, what the day that ever I wanted a donut?
Nay, hold, Parnell, hold.
We have heard enough of your valour already. We know you have beaten him. Let that suffice.
Wherever poor maiden betrayed as I were unto a spag-bellied cow that cannot... that cannot...
What says she?
I know not. She caterwauls, I think. Parnell, be patient, good Parnell, and a little modest too. 'Tis not amiss, we know, not the relish of every ear that hears us. Let's talk within ourselves. What's the defect? What's the impediment? Lawrence has had a lusty name among the bachelors.
What he were when he were a bachelor, I know better than the best maid in the town. I would I had not.
Peace,
Parnell.
'Twere that cussed me. He has not now as he had then.
Peace,
good
Parnell.
For then he could, but now he cannot. He cannot.
Bye, Parnell.
Bye.
I say again and again, he cannot. He cannot.
Alas,
poor
Poor
Parnell.
Parnell.
I am not a bit the better for him since we were wed.
Is good stuff for a jury of women to pass upon.
But Parnell, why have you beaten him so grievously? What would you have him do in this case?
He's out of a doing case, it seems.
Marry, sir, and beat him while I enter his grave, or back to the priest and be unwedded and gone, for I will not be bound to lie with him and live with him the life of an honest woman for all the lives good in Lancashire.
An honest woman! That's a good mind, Parnell. What say you to this, Lawrence?
I don't know what do I say? I've scrolled down past my first line.
Keep her off of me.
Keep her off me, and I shan't tell you. And she be by I am nobody. But keep her off and search me. Let me be searched as never witch was searched, and find anything more or less upon me than a sufficient man should have, and let me be ocked by it.
You hear this, Parnell?
Liar! Liar! They'll tack the liar! Traced ye and hung ye!
Lass, it is too plain. The poor fellow is bewitched. Here's a plain maleficium versus Hank now.
And so is she bewitched too, into this immodesty.
Immodesty? She would never talk so else.
I pray you give me the leer of the Latin, sir.
The meaning is you must get 6 bastards within this 12-month, and that will mend your next marriage.
And I thought it would make Parnell love me. I'd be sure on it and gang about it now, right?
You are soon provided, it seems, for such a journey.
Best tarry till thy head be whole, Lawrence.
Nay, I's wait, casting away, and I be unwedded again, and then I'll nae undertake to find 3 better husbands in a bean card.
Hark, gentlemen, the show is coming.
What? Shall we stay and see it?
By all means, gentlemen.
It's best to have these away first.
Nay, marry shan you not, sir. I hear you well enough, and I con the meaning of the show well enough, and I stay not the show and see not the show, and my one in the show let me be hooked up for a show. I'll wear them to a mell or mar with a woman that mells or mars with a testrel, a lungy, a down little losel that cannot, and if I skim not their skimmington's cocksteam for it, may that warpling boggle me a week longer, and that's a curse in no for any wife, I trow.
Agreed. Perhaps 'twill mend the sport.
Enter drum beating before a Skimmington and his wife on a horse. Diverse country rustics. As they pass, Parnell pulls Skimmington off the horse, and Lawrence, Skimmington's wife. They beat him. Because drum beats alarum, horse comes away. The hoydens at first oppose the gentlemen who draw. Clowns veil bonnet, make a ring round Parnell and Skimmington, and everyone watches the fight.
Beat drum alarum!
Fight continues amidst noises of drum and spectators. Lawrence's match concluded, finishes faster than Parnell's.
Enough! Here, my masters. Now, patch up your show, if you can, and catch your horse again, and when you have done, drink that.
Gives money. Thank you, worship!
Thank you, worship!
Exuberant shout.
Let them as they like this. Gang a procession with their idol Skimmington again!
Parnell, thou didst bravely.
I am sure I hadn't drawn blood in their idol.
And I think I tickled his wife.
Yea, to be sure, you been ane of the old ticklers. But with what, can you tell?
Yea, with her own ladle.
Yea, marry a ladle is something.
Come, you both have done well. Go into my house, to your old master and mistress, while I travel a course to make you all well again. I will now witch hunting.
Nah, course for us, but to be unwedded again.
We are
for Whetstone is
ours, you know.
Farewell.
Lawrence and Parnell exit one way, and the gentleman in another, probably. Okay. So, the question on all of our lips is, what the hell's a Skimmington? Who's Googled it?
Oh, yeah.
Look, Lois.
Yeah, this was something that was done at weddings or just after weddings to make fun of the bride and groom. And it was, I think, for all sorts of reasons. I think there's one in a Hardy novel, actually.
Yeah.
I think it was the kind of custom for a long time. And I think it's partly if they knew that one or the other of them was already guilty of something, or if the bride was already pregnant. I mean, there are all sorts of ways of sort of humiliating them. And I think in this case, I don't know if they'd already found out that he wasn't able to consummate the marriage, to put it politely, and
Yes.
that they were making fun of.
Yeah, yes, we are in this, shall we say, awkward situation whereby the consummation has not occurred, but more, consummation has occurred. It just happened before the marriage, and I think that's the sense that Parnell's more aggrieved by the fact that she had proof of the goods, and now that she's married him, there are no goods. There is no good. The good was quite good, and now there is no good at all, and this is not good. And she is most aggrieved of this fact, which I found delightful. I have to say, she's demanding an annulment because he can't do his business.
One line must be cut of that. It's so good, especially when Sarah Blake is doing it.
Skimmington, I'd actually come across recently. There's a description of it in a book I was reading called Blazing World, which is in the run-up to the Civil War, so very much of this period. And again, it seemed to be a Lancashire thing. It's basically almost like a Christmas Lord of Misrule type process. The world turned upside down, which seems to be an ongoing theme through this play.
Yeah, and I think, doesn't somebody have to sit backward on the horse?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, it's yeah. Sorry, Donald.
I was going to say, it's all good stuff. I mean, good luck staging all of that.
Really, this play is really asking for a lot of actors, because even when you get outside, you need those bodies outside of the main cast, and the main cast is big. This is a community. This is a massive community of people doing their thing, and there's no doubling options here. Very few. I'm sure you can double a few minor roles here and there. But even minor people are going to be running off stage, throwing on a different costume, coming back on again, and doing all sorts. But it's, again, full of life. It's full of energy. It's doing all sorts of things. And we're drifting in the general direction of final thoughts in a mo, but we'll stick to where we've just been. So Simon, then Lynn.
I was just gonna say, it kind of strikes me as almost them the shedding themselves of any constraints of Puritanism, which of course would have been shaken off not that long before, and it just feels like it's there's a lots of different things going on, not all of which seem to have the same tone, but it just seems like a mishmash, like an excuse for a hell of a knees up of a show is tone.
But yet it is still quite disturbingly weird, and slightly off kilter at times as well. Because all of this Skimmington, it's incredibly violent. It's a ritualized action, but in this context, is it ritualized as much as And the husband's just been beaten by his wife. He comes in with a bandage on his head, and yes, all this can be funny. Because at the moment, no massive harm necessarily has been done. But it also, Lynn.
The Skimmington, I thought I had heard of that activity before, but by a different name. And it's also known as a charivari. Charivari. A noisy mock serenade often performed by a group of people to newlyweds, usually involving banging pots and pans, intended as a playful disruption. Also, a confused noise or din in general. I'd heard of that custom by another name, but maybe Skimmington is the local name. Is the Lancaster?
Yeah, and I think we've had something similar in a play before. I seem to recall that some sort of noisy post-marriage thing, which was utilised in a plot, didn't function in quite the same way as this. But I think there was something a bit like that.
Maybe the English Moor?
It could have been. I think there was because that was mixed up with all the really horribly problematic stuff, as I recall. Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway. General final thoughts. I'm not going to go around the whole room. I'll start with Aliki, who had to go out early. We still don't know what genre it is or what it's going to do next. I mean, this is the thing. Is normally by this point we'd know whether it's all going to end, everybody's fine, or everyone lives happily ever after, or if it's a tragedy, everybody's going to die. And I think some of the anxiety about how this play is going to end is because they don't know how it ends yet. Because this is vaguely based on a true story. This is vaguely based on an actual witch event going on, but they haven't actually finished the trial yet, or the news of the trial hasn't reached London yet, and so they don't know whether they're guilty or not.
Yeah.
So nobody's died yet. Assuming that it actually went to trial and that people were found guilty. I'm going to pretend that I don't know how this story ends. Please continue to pretend you don't know how this story ends if you don't know. So there's this anxiety. The play can't have a genre because it doesn't know how it ends.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why it's so entertainingly weird, actually, because I don't know which way it's going to lead. They could all burn. And they could all dance off into the sunset and be chastised for their terrible ways and yet be forgiven. I doubt it, but but I don't know how it's going to end because I say the play to a degree doesn't know how it's going to end. Final thoughts from the room. Cast of gazillions, but I'm still really enjoying this in its weirdness. It's a bit of a mess, but hey, that's life. Alan, then Donald.
I mean, the question comes up because we've always thought of the Kingsmen as being a relatively small company of players. But this one, I mean, you could put this on with a youth theatre group with 50 kids.
No, the King's Men can raise an awful lot of bodies if they need to. There is a core company, but you can always hire in extras if you need to. And they are the King's Men, so they can do whatever they like to a degree. So yeah, no, I wouldn't take that. 16 plus is your baseline for the King's Men, and a lot of this could be done with 16. It's just there is a plus on top of that, and you would need to get some high. I think there's definitely, you've got to get some good dancers in outside of just your company, because there's an awful lot of extras who seem to come in, do a dance, and then bugger off again. Those two country lasses, I don't think they're there for their acting ability. I think they're there for their legs. They can
on the dancing girls.
They can do that. I mean, they're not literally dancing girls, but anyway, Donald.
I'm going to say the Skimmington ride, it's in Mary Casterbridge, and there it's really nasty, absolutely malicious, intended to humiliate, whereas here, clearly, it's doing that. But what is interesting is there's a sort of an on-stage audience for it as well. So you've got that extra layer of complexity. And as you say, the tone is, the characters on stage are clearly enjoying it. So at what point, where does the audience sympathy lie? And it raises that whole question all the way through of the tone of the play. And I haven't quite made up my mind about that yet.
Yes, because you've got, in that scene, you've got Shakestone, Arthur, Bantam, who are generally jovial people who sort of laugh their way through everything. So they might be finding it hilarious because they're not as intimately involved as the Generous or Seeley or any of those people who have been bewitched. So they're almost acting like gallants who've wandered in to the theatre, who actually aren't quite in the play.
No,
and I don't mean that literally, but it feels like they are that kind of slightly witty, and sometimes they get caught up, and sometimes they get a bit scared, and sometimes but they're not. They don't have stakes as characters in the way that, say, Generous does, to a degree. Lynn.
Yeah, Rob, just you said this is a mess, and it is. And the mess is kind of the point, I think. I mean, the early modern society had these kind of occasions of controlled chaos, days on which the apprentices traditionally rioted.
That's right.
12th night kind of Lord of Misrule days, but those were pretty securely bounded. And the chaos here is not, and it's not something that's sort of socially agreed upon the way other indulgences in chaos were in early modern society. And I think maybe the chaos made them very uncomfortable. Like, God's in his heaven and all's right with the world, that order and hierarchy were like really important to the early modern mind. So the point that this is chaos, and chaos we don't understand. We don't understand the source of, we don't understand to control it. We don't know when it's going to end the way you do with Carnival or holidays. Like the next day is a working day and we're all going to go, put our working clothes back on and behave ourselves. And this is chaos that's extra chaotic because they don't know where it's coming from or what's causing it or when it's going to end. It doesn't have those kind of boundaries that the other forms of misrule did in this culture. So I think that the mess and the discomfort is part of the point. I just don't know what the moral is going to be. It's just like, is it going to be a reiteration of what Mistress Generous has gone through? It's like, if you're really sorry, then you can put things right again. Or is that going to end up being a not sincere repentance? It really does keep you guessing what's going on.
And when I say, it's a mess, I don't mean that it's badly written.
Right.
This is a play that is juggling. There are balls being thrown up in the air, left, right, and centre, but the playwrights are catching them and getting them back up in the air again. I think generally the flow, it's not like I felt like, oh, there was this plot line that started earlier and we haven't heard from again. They do keep those little things ticking over. We keep meeting, everybody keeps coming back on that stage after a little break here or there. So it's really efficiently done. Within the folk horror stakes, this isn't Blood on Satan's Claw, which is structurally a mess because it's basically a series of unconnected series of incidents. This is a community disintegrating because of witches, and it's just the fact that witches are all so different. It's like, could you please get together, witches, and just be a bit more organized as to how this witching is happening? Because it looks like there's no rules to these witching at all. It's every witch seems to have a different, route in. I don't know. Any other final thoughts anyone wants to throw in? Lois.
Yeah.
Yep. Sorry.
Bit of Bosch there, I think.
Yeah.
Yes, Bosch's musical Hell, I think. Hell, anyway. There's one bit that they'll have to tie up at some point, which is just exactly what Arthur is doing, or what are these legal entanglements that he's in. I mean, he seems to like getting into them because he's got some sort of thing going with Mr. Generous, which I don't quite get. It's tied in with the Seeleys, but it's about some bond. And then there's this other thing that he and Doughty seem to have set up of taking over the Seeleys and making them wards, and which is all a bit fishy, actually, like committing them, really. But maybe they can sort this out. The other thing is, I suppose, about the casting. Sometimes they did have two companies joining to put on a play. I think Heywood mentions that with his Ages plays. And that might have been what they needed for this. I mean, they have quite a lot of women in this play and dancers, and that means a lot of boys, obviously. So it might have been one of the boys' companies. I mean, but by this point, I'm not sure how many boys' companies were left because they weren't doing that well, I think. In the
I think we're into Endgame, if not past it by now.
Yeah, we might be. Yeah. But that may be. I mean, they seem to need quite a few boys for this play, I think, and also in these gallants, these young men that kind of go around laughing at everything. I think we get them in quite a few plays. They seem to me rather like the ones in the English Moor, who are going to do something after the wedding in that, and that is another kind of. It's sort of like a Skimmington, and those guys, one of them is quite nasty, as I remember, but the others are just going around laughing at everything. So it seems to me that there's sort of these dramatists also know the kind of cast they're writing for and certain kinds of parts that they need. I think the other thing is just that the play really does lend itself to country sports. I mean, you can really go to town with that, and these were quite popular. I mean, Morris dances and just sort of folk entertainment. You can have folk songs, folk dances all the way through it, and then perhaps play that off against the sort of sinister aspect.
Yes, but then folk dancing is inherently sinister, so that you don't need to play it off against anyone. The whole thing about the it's something to do with a mortgage or some sort of financial I wonder whether that's a red herring in the sense that they're just trying to get on with normal day-to-day business, and it can't happen. So it can't happen at the beginning of the play because he'd normally go to his uncle, and his uncle's just not with it because of all the chaos. So he goes to Generous, and Generous says, fine. And in a sense, I'm not sure that that's necessarily going anywhere. I think it's just part of the universe not functioning. It's like you can't even get your PIN number to work. None of these transactions can occur. There is a plot line we haven't had any resolution on. Should just briefly mention the soldier and the miller. We haven't heard from them for a while now, and that's a plot line I would like to see return. Though I think that's going to return as almost a pop-up joke. It's like they've done the joke setup, and then suddenly they're going to run on and say, "Have you seen the cats in that?" In that windmill.
I'd forgotten about that.
Bloody hell. Sorry, Donald, you're waving.
I was going to say, at the end of that scene with Generous and his wife, after he's sort of forgiven her and so on, the next thing he does is say, I've got to be away on business for a couple of days. But
Yeah.
it says what it is. And that's a really odd way to end the scene. It's almost bathos, but...
Yeah, I remember at the time when we were reading that of Gus going, do you think you could put business off? Could you just call work and say, I'm taking a couple of days off because, I've got some stuff. My wife's a witch, so maybe
I've got this really important email and I've got to answer it.
Yeah, it's just like I didn't think that was just odd. It felt almost like we've got to end the scene.
Yeah.
I'm not in the next couple of scenes. We'll just put in a reason. It's not a very good one. But hey. So we have one more session to do, and the rest of the play to discover. There's just so much in this play. I mean, I feel that we could just workshop scene by scene, and we'd be there for we'd have hours of fun. Will it all come together as a coherent whole, or will it all be a bit? Well, I think that's what a production's there to sort out, actually. But you do need to get your piggy bank out, I think, to fund this one, because this is not two planks and a passion territory here. This is get your theatrical resources out. Well, all that remains at this point is to thank all the wonderful readers for their wonderful reading. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye. May that warpling bother me a week longer.